Welcome to the 5 for 2 podcast with me, your host Adele, where we say no to careers where you're trading 5 days of misery for 2 days of fun. A place we discuss all things career, confidence, and money moves. I want to motivate, teach, and empower ambitious women to achieve more, earn more, feel more confident, and enjoy the work they do. It's all about believing you can have everything you want in your career and then going and getting it. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Hey guys, another episode. I'm very excited about this episode, everyone, because I am joined by a LinkedIn personal branding expert, Caisha Sheikh. I have actually been live with her over on her LinkedIn. So happy to have her here on the podcast with me. I know a lot of you listening are going to be like, what does branding have to do with my 9 to 5, Adele? How is this going to help? But Caisha is going to explain a little bit about how she even got to where she is in her business. She was a 9 to 5 girl, just like a lot of you listening. And a lot of you I know are transitioning into entrepreneurship. So I feel like this episode is going to be amazing. But your brand is so important in your career, just as much as it is for companies in business. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Caisha Sheikh and let her tell you a little bit about herself. So hi, Caisha.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's nice to be on your podcast now that like you said, you've been on mine. So on my LinkedIn Live. So really nice to join you, and hopefully it'll help some of the things that we talk about today.
Amazing. Thank you. So tell the listeners a little bit about what you do. Like, what do you do with branding?
Perfect. So essentially, I help people to build their personal brands. A lot of people that I work with struggle maybe with their self-confidence, or they struggle with imposter syndrome, or they're introverts. And really, they're just plain small and they don't know where to start with actually building their own personal brand, creating their own opportunities. A lot of people are trying to build businesses and get more clients, but they just have no idea how to do that, and just the importance of building a personal brand with generating interest, generating leads and getting new clients, or just progressing their career. So I have worked with people who actually are trying to get new roles, land new opportunities, or progress their career, but they're just not able to do it because they haven't positioned themselves correctly. So personal branding is super important, and it's where my bag is.
I love it. I love how passionate you are. And also you said like so many things that I love to hear. Building confidence. He talks about it helps introverts. Introvert over here, little miss introvert. No one ever believes it when I say it, but I'm fully an introvert. And I do think it is sometimes introverts feel like they can't have a voice or have a brand, or like because they're introverted and they're not out there and they're not putting themselves out there. But actually your personal brand incorporates every aspect of you.
And there's something with working with introverts, because I'm also an introvert, which again, people are like, hold on, you're doing all these live streaming, how? And before, although I've always felt confident in my capabilities, I've never actually kind of showing up and really put myself out there. I always felt like I had to be an extrovert, or you see these super confident people on the external and you're like, maybe I should try and match my personality to be like them. But then it's difficult to do that. Like, how can we pretend to be someone that we're not? So what I wanted to do was actually speak up for introverts and be like, be who you are. Like, it's part of your personal brand. And actually, you start to relate to a lot of other introverts, which there's so many of us out there who are super successful. They've got businesses, they're super successful career women, men. And so actually showing up as you attract more people like you, join your audience, who follow you then, and who become your biggest fans, because actually they resonate with you being real, which is a really important part of building your brand.
Oh, I love that you said that, because I feel the same. I really relate to when you said that you were confident in your skills and your abilities and what you're capable of, but that didn't always mean you showed up for yourself. And I was the same. I was almost to the point where it was almost borderline cocky. Like, when it came to my abilities, I knew I was good in my 9 to 5, but I didn't know how to necessarily communicate that or show up because I'm an introvert. So I just sort of expected people to see it and like notice me. So I love that you kind of said that, just because and also that introverts are successful. Like, there are so many successful introverts and people don't talk about it enough. Like, they're millionaires. Like, they don't talk about they don't talk about the people that own like the big companies like Meta and stuff like that. People that are actually proclaimed introverts, Bill Gates. Like, there are certain people that are just introverts, but people don't necessarily talk about that. They show us that you have to be extroverted. So I love that you said as well that your personal brand is about being yourself, and then that connects people to you. It's like magnetic. And when you're yourself, it's like, it's not hard because you're not trying to be anyone. I always feel like when you're yourself and you're selling yourself, it's so much easier than trying to pretend to be something you're not.
That's it. And even when I first started showing up online, it's quite a difficult thing to even worry about, like, what people are going to think of you. Like, what if I mess up, or they're going to think, who does she think that she is, like, doing all these videos? And it's normal to go through that. Like, what are my peers going to think? What are my colleagues? What's my boss going to think? Or what is everyone out there they're going to be judging me for? Like, she doesn't usually talk like that, or where's she suddenly got the confidence from? But what I did was I showed up as me, and I was like, this is my first video. I wanted to show up online for this reason, and just take people on the journey with you. And that's what I did, because then people feel like they're part of your story, they're part of your growth, and they're part of your evolvement, instead of trying to be someone you're not when you show up online. People can see through it. People can be like, oh, that's not, and it's more difficult to resonate with someone who isn't showing up as themselves.
I love that. So that said, what is personal branding? Sort of in a nutshell, so that it's in a summary, so that everyone listening can really understand what we're talking about.
So I always say a personal brand is essentially people when you walk out the room, what are they going to say about you? How are they going to know you or reference you? And essentially personal brand is perception. So what do you want to be known for? What is it about you that you want to be known for? So if you're not in the room, what are people going to say about you? Because whether you like it or not, you've got a personal brand. So whether you've tried to build one or not, people have always got a perception of you. So it's your choice how you want to be perceived. So personal brand, in a nutshell, is perception. It's what you're known for, what people would say about you when you're not in a room, and how you want to come across, because it is all down to you. Even if you aren't intentionally trying to build a personal brand, you will have one to some capacity. It might not be a very strong one, it might not be a very good one, but we all have perceptions of other people. We all have perceptions of if someone's reliable, or if someone is extrovert, or if someone's an introvert, or if someone's just really good at their job, they're caring. We all have a perception of other people. So how do you want to be perceived, and what do you want to be known for? Will start to shape your personal brand.
I love how you answered that question. I love the fact that you said it's what people say about you when you're not in the room, because no matter what, I'm in such agreement. Like, I love it. I was over here, guys, nodding my head like crazy because I was like, yes, just because of the simple fact that if you don't define your personal brand, it will be defined for you. Like, I believe that with every ounce of my body. Like, it's like annoying people. When you meet someone who's annoying, they might not intentionally be trying to annoy you, but when they leave the room, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that person was so annoying. So you're defining them regardless. Like, and I'm just trying to make it in the simplest form, but you are defining that person. Whether they wanted you to be defined like that is neither here nor there. And your career is the same. You're in a room, and even if you're the fact that you're the person that never speaks, and you're the person that is always shy, that will become your personal brand. So then people will start putting that on you and saying, oh, you never speak, you're really shy, and then you'll start to believe it. So if you don't decide, let me define it, because you don't have to be shy just not to talk. You could just be the person who's really observant. But if you let people keep saying you're shy, instead of you saying, actually, no, I'm quite observant, I like to listen before I speak, you have to be the one to make that definition. And the fact in your career, especially in your 9 to 5, what people are saying about you when you're not there is so important, because if you want your boss to advocate for you, senior management to advocate for you, to get more money, they have to be having conversations that are positive about you when you're not there. And your brand leads you to that. And I love the way you answered that, because I just feel like that's going to resonate with so many people who are thinking, well, I don't have a brand, or I've never thought of it like that. But them to have the understanding that you're going to have one regardless. It doesn't matter whether you say it or whether you decide it or not, you've got a brand. People think a way about you at work, how you work, they think about what you do at your job. Like, they already have a perception of you today, on this day when you're at your job. So if you want to change that perception so that you can start getting more promotions or whatever it is, I feel like this conversation is going to be so important for all of you.
Definitely. And if someone's in just touching on that, if someone's in a career, if they're in a job, you almost feel like you've got an internal brand within the company and an external. So it's internal, which is a bit that people often forget about as well, is let's say you're going into an office, and it's all a bit different now with that hybrid working, but you're around people, you're going into an office. It's about not just ignoring like the HR team or the admin team or the finance team. Like, how does everybody perceive you? It's actually like starting to shape. People will have conversations, so it's your job essentially to go and make sure that people, have a good opinion on you, and they perceive you for what you want to be known for. But I always say, go that extra mile and not be fake, but be friendly with people, find out about what they're doing, because your internal brand is with those progressions, with that, getting that next level and actually taking time to care about what other people are doing, and not, if you just walk past other people's desks who aren't in your team, then how is anybody else going to know what you're up to or what you're doing? So it's your job to internally go and build your brand and go and have conversations and go and be curious about what other people are doing and actually share a bit about you in a positive light, because that will help you with getting noticed, getting those progressions, because people are all interlinked within careers. They've all got, they all have conversations, they've all got management meetings and leadership meetings. And if they've got a good perception of you, then you're most likely going to come up in a positive way. So those little things do help by intentionally being curious, having conversations. And if there's something in particular that you are interested in, then make it known or do that extra step internally to go on a course or to learn and develop. And that will help you with progressing your career as well.
Oh, yeah, I love that. And you might have just touched on what my next question was going to be, which is, what's one mistake that people make when defining their personal brand?
I think the biggest mistake is they're not clear on what they want to be known for. So, for example, within recruitment, for example, which is the industry that I come from as well. So a big thing that I would see within recruitment, I worked in technology recruitment, specifically senior, like CIO level. I would see a lot of other recruiters out there just like titling themselves and just going out there as technology recruiter. They weren't specific in who they wanted to work with. So I was very specific, like CIO headhunter, CIO recruiter. I was very niche, very specific with what I wanted to be known for. And that's a huge part. Be very specific with what you want to be known for. That's most important. But then go and actually spread that message and start talking to people about it. Because if you don't have a clue what you want to be known for, how's anyone else going to know? It's your job to, even you can always change and evolve what you want to be known for. But in this moment, what do you want to be known for, or what do you aspire to be known for? But it can always evolve, but it's important to have an idea in your head, because once you've got it clear, everybody else will become a lot clearer for everyone else. And if you're in a career, you're trying to get a new role or progress, you need to make it clear what you want to be known for in your next role, or what kind of role are you trying to go for? Because when a recruiter talks to you, they're going to ask you, what role do you want, or, what salary do you? It's your job to know that, and otherwise they'll just pigeonhole you in whatever way they want to. So be clear on what you want to be known for, make it very intentional, and then you'll start to attract the right opportunities to you because you've got clear
definitions. Yeah, I like that. I really like that, because actually you saying that just made me think, because guys, everyone who listens to this already knows my background is recruitment also. And early on, I remember people saying to me, like, I was going to struggle because I always wanted to be super honest. And you know how people look at salespeople and they're like, if you're in sales or anything like that, you're not an honest person. And I remember being like, but I can be honest. If I don't think I can help someone, I remember my boss once saying to me, don't tell them you can't help, even if you don't think you can. And I was like, no, but if I can't help, I can't help. I don't want to waste my time or their time. And I was told I wouldn't make a lot of money if I did that. And actually, it was the total opposite. I made money because I would say to people, I don't think I can necessarily help you. And they would ask me, but why, Adele? And then sometimes I would be like, because I don't think the salary's high enough, or whatever the reason was. And then we would literally come to a common ground. And because of that, because I was in essence almost turning away their business, they would then want to work with me more. But I never understood that very early on in my career as being a part of my brand. I never realized that me really digging my heels in and saying, no, I want to be really honest with people, was me defining my brand. But the way you said it just now just made me really think like, oh, actually that was the start of me saying like, this is part of who I am and this is what I value. And I made that work for me in an industry where people told me it wouldn't work.
I love that. And it's a huge differentiator from everybody else as well, because other recruiters, as we know, would just be like, yeah to everything. But actually, and I found that being niche with, okay, I'm just going to work with C-level, actually, again, worked in my favour, because I would get so many more opportunities because people could see us taking it seriously. I'd run CIO workshops and I would always be like giving back and adding value, which is another important part of that, building a personal brand. Value first, instead of just, what can you give me? Add value first. And then I'd be getting so many opportunities, which then I'd be passing out to the other team members. But because I was niche and specific with what I wanted to become the expert in, then that helped me to, one, stand out because I wasn't just like everybody else, but two, show that, again, similar to you, I'm honest and I'm only, specialised in this area, but the teams can help you with the other areas. And then you start to show up as the expert as well, which is really important.
I love that. You just didn't try to be all the things. You decided who you were and stuck to it. And like you said as well, personal brand can evolve. It's not that it can't evolve, but you first have to decide and get clear on what it is and what you want to be known for, and then stick to it. I love the fact that you said you stuck to it and used to share the other opportunities with other people, but you stuck to what it was that you decided that you wanted to do and be known for. So I love that. Actually, I think because you've been talking about being a recruiter and stuff, this is probably a good question. So I was going to ask you, well, I think from everyone listening, they already know the answer to this question, but I'm still going to ask it. Is personal brand only effective for entrepreneurs?
Definitely not. So I suppose I could share a little bit about even my career. So when I was in the 9 to 5 and I was working in a career, and then I suppose talk about the importance of how that helped me in my career. So
I love that. Yes, I'd love to hear that.
For me, so I started out in recruitment, essentially very, very junior. I was a resource 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago. And I very much quickly thought, I want to be really good at what I do, and I want to stand out within the company. So I would be on LinkedIn, I'd be building my brand, connecting with people, networking. I'd be networking both on LinkedIn and in person at conferences where other people would just be all talking to each other in the company. I'd be like going and mingling and, again, being curious, just trying to talk to people, but also learn, because that's really important, but also add value where I could. So I'd be constantly connecting with people, adding value via doing like workshops and kind of events, those types of things, and always trying to think of how I could be a bit different. But then what that helped me to do was quickly progress from being a resource in the same company, then to being a consultant, then senior consultant, then heading up a team, and then transitioning into like getting other opportunities within my career with other companies. But the importance of that is me building my brand and building my own network made me have leverage then to be able to get higher salaries, to be like, well, this is my network, this is what I'm doing, this is who I'm connected with, this is what I'm doing on LinkedIn, so I'm doing with events. So then I'd leverage to quickly be able to get a higher salary, more money, but also you become more sticky then within a company, and they don't want to lose you. So they will, it sounds really bad, they'll do whatever it is to keep you because you are really valuable and you're an asset to that company. If you are in a career, build your brand, because it'll make you, one, be able to get more money and kind of get a higher salary. If you're at the company that you're at now, you want to get a different role. But two, it builds that leverage. So you could actually maybe start doing different roles in that company, or do passion projects in the company and do more things that you enjoy. So if you're in a career, you want to stay in a career, do build your brand, because it'll just make everything more enjoyable. And you're not just another number then, you actually are, okay, this person's an asset to us. We want to keep them happy. And what ideas have you got? And then you start to go, progress within your career then by intentionally building your brand.
I love that. Thank you for sharing your journey. And I love that. So 9-to-5ers listening, personal brand is important. Yeah. So if you've not heard the statement before from an employer that says, what do we need to do to keep you? It might mean that you need to define your brand a little bit more. Because I think most people that have heard that statement, like, what do we need to do to keep you, is because you have a strong personal brand. It's like what you said, companies will give you what you want. No, and it sounds terrible, like, oh, they'll just give, it's not that they'll give you what you want, but they're more likely to negotiate with you when you want the higher pay. If you say you want to change departments, because you've built this brand that is an asset to them, they're like, actually, I would rather keep Caisha, or I'd rather keep Adele, because they're able to do X, Y, Z, and I really don't want to have to hire someone else and train someone else. Like, we're all replaceable. It's never that we're saying we're not replaceable, but actually, have you made yourself hard to replace because you've built this very strong brand? Caisha was saying she goes into like companies where she's like, I've already built, like, I've got a client base, I've got these people. So if you want me, this is what I'm going to need in return. And that's also her bringing value. Like, if you bring value and the value is part of your brand, then that makes them want to keep you. And I love that you sort of shared your journey. How did that translate then into your entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah, I suppose that's the part I didn't get to actually. So I started out in recruitment, but then because of building my brand, then I got opportunities within the business to then move into heading up the partnership team. So I was then head of partnerships and heading up the strategic partnerships with a lot of the big tech firms, which was really cool. So again, that just shows I was able to transition within the company, because I was getting a little bit, I don't say bored, but I was just getting, within the role that I was doing. So the MD at the time was like, got a new opportunity if you want to have a look at this. And then I was just very much clear then. I've known it for a while, probably since I was like a teenager that I always one day wanted to have my own business. And I was very similar to you. I've always been very honest with people I've worked with to say in this amount of time, I do want to have my own business. So I then had the conversation with the managing director and said, I still do want to have my own business and I'm thinking about doing it within the next 6 months. So he was like, okay, it's really sad that you actually are now looking to do it, but how can we help like transition you out? So that was really nice. So I stayed for like 6 months, helped with the transition out. And then what I did was started to work with them as a consultant, because which is really cool. So then I did some work with the company that I was full-time with as a consultant, as a coach, helping their teams with their personal brands, with their LinkedIn, also coaching their academy. So that was nice, because I had that kind of money that I knew that I was going to get as a consultant, coaching them. And then from that, then I transitioned to get other clients of my own and then build up that portfolio. And also because I had and still have a big network of my own on LinkedIn and people that I know throughout the years, then I was able to win my own work and build my own business. So the key thing for me is I was always honest. I wasn't trying to do anything dodgy, because I was like, I'm going to be posting stuff on LinkedIn. I want to be building my clientele and my own clients. I don't want to, it's not in competition with what you guys do, but how can we make sure that this works for both of us? So always be honest, be transparent. I know it's not always easy with some companies, but I think honesty is, it just felt better for me. So I didn't feel like I was hiding anything. Then in the flip, then they also helped me by then giving me a bit of work when I was leaving. So it worked out nice by being honest, by being transparent, and then they helped me and I helped them with that transition.
I love that. What that also tells me is that you had an amazingly strong personal brand, because for you to be able to tell them, not only tell them that you were going to start a business, but for them to then hire you at your 9 to 5 as a consultant, it just shows that your brand was so strong that rather than lose you, they were happy for you to carry on growing your business, and then they hired you to help them because they knew you were an asset. And I really want anyone listening to this, if you didn't pay attention, to just rewind a little bit and re-listen, because that part is really important. In corporate, we talk about all the toxic stuff all the time. We talk about all the bad stuff, but we don't highlight that when you've built your brand and you take ownership of your career, actually you can work corporate just like it works you.
100%. You can work corporate, and also, it sounds cringe, but just be a good person. You then attract other good people and they'll want to look out for you and you look out for them. Because I've never, even since, I know it sounds like I'm going deep into like family stuff, but then since then they've hired my little sister. So it's still really, so I left and my little sister, they brought her on board, and then I did a coaching program for her academy, which was really funny. But I think just be a good person and good people look out for you. And like you said, I know there's some toxic things that happen in corporate, but if you build your brand intentionally, you then have more power and more leverage to make your own career, make your own business, but then people will help you along your journey because you're a good person. You've not left them in the lurch. You've not been dishonest. And then that it always works out if you're honest and build a brand.
Amen to being honest. Like, honestly, like people always say, like, you can't always be honest, but if you're a good person and you really do your best, you will find your tribe. I think that's so important. People are so scared to be themselves because they think, oh, I'm going to lose this or I'm going to lose that. But actually, it's literally anything you lose, you weren't meant to have. You will find other good people that will literally support you on your journey. Even if it's only one person in the company, you will find people. And remember, people that you come across in your 9 to 5, even currently, if you're in a job, they will leave one day and they might be in a position to help you in the future. You don't know who your connections are and what's going to happen in the future. So always just be a good person. Like, if you're a good person, it will always come back to you. So that just sat with me when you said that. I was like, be a good person, because it's very underrated. Being a nice person is very underrated in corporate. People don't talk about the fact that nice people do win. Like, they always talk about nice people don't come first, but actually they do, because in the long term, and that's what I think being nice is a part of a brand that is long term and has a lot of longevity rather than just the short term wins.
Oh, 100%. And it's always being nice, but be honest, but then always think about what you want. If you're not happy right now with what you're doing, think of how can you change that? What can you do differently? Because life is too short just to be doing something that you're not happy with. So there's always a way out of what you're doing, or there's a way to progress or get a new role. Don't just stay stuck, because there's more to life than being stuck and being unfulfilled.
100%. Absolutely. Oh, love that. So next question I wanted to ask you Well, actually, no, you've already talked about when you built your personal brand. So you've been building your brand for ages. And you even said that you always sort of wanted to be an entrepreneur, which is really cool because I haven't met a lot of introverts that have told me from the very start they wanted to be an entrepreneur. Usually extroverts always from the beginning, they're like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like for me, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I literally fell into entrepreneurship. And it was more to do with almost like when you mentioned that you kind of outgrew your job.
Yeah,
I started to outgrow my position. I needed more. And it was more that I just needed more. And I started helping people on the side, and that just turned into a whole thing. But when I look back through my career, kind of always have been doing it. Always. So I was like, I probably have just subconsciously been an entrepreneur. But I love that you said you always knew. What made you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
I feel like maybe it's maybe come down from my dad and my parents have always been very much like their work ethic is they've always just been working really hard. But I've always wanted to have my own money as well. Like ever since a kid, I can remember I was like 11 and I got myself a paper round, and I got my brother one, and he didn't want to do his anymore, so I did 2 paper rounds. So I've always loved having my own money and not having to ask for things from literally the age of 11 as long as I can remember. Always wanted to work. When I was like 14, I worked at a coffee shop, and on the weekends in Canada, I lived in Canada for a bit. And I didn't want to ask for money. I always wanted to have my own money because I didn't like the thought of which sounds really bad, but during like parents that bribe you, like, well, if you do this or like, and you can have money. I was like, no, I'm just going to go make my own money. So always, I don't need to ask you for this. So I was just, I'm not being bribed. I'm going to go out, I'll work, and then I'll be able to buy my own things or be able to buy people like Christmas presents. I know it sounds weird, but I like to like give as well. So I just liked having my own money since a child. Which is
parents, do you see how some children it's going to backfire? It's weird because you sound like my daughter. My daughter refused to be allowed to be like, she's looking for a job now. She's like, I need a job so I can do my own. Like she just wants to have her own money so that me and her dad can't be like, well, you've got to do these chores or do this. She's like, nah, I'm just gonna go get my.
I was like, I'm gonna go make my. I'll do as many paper rounds as I need. I don't care. So I would prefer to do all that than be bribed. I know it sounds crazy, but it's how.
Well, parents, look out for future entrepreneurs. If they react the way Caisha did, then possibly.
Yeah. So I always knew from that. And then in school and in like college and things, I did like business classes, and I remember like winning like this Richard Branson award with one of my business classes because we had to do like a project where we'd go and sell. And so I've always just really liked having my own creative ideas and always enjoyed the whole process of can I make my own money. So that's I suppose where it's come from, is liking doing things for myself, making my own money, but also having ideas and being creative with how can I do things better. But I just didn't really know how to get started, I suppose, within business, or maybe imposter syndrome held me back a little bit with, where do I start? What am I doing? And then over the years, I've just built more confidence. And it still is sometimes on a daily basis of like, okay, what am I doing? Like you will always get those things of imposter syndrome. If you have experienced it, it does come back. But it's just a case of keep going and you'll learn as you go. So for me, I've always had it in me to want to make money and do things for myself. And then it's just the imposter syndrome part, which probably made me hold back a little bit. But then I realised you're always going to have it, and you just have to grow as you go and learn as you go.
And live with it. Yeah. And listen, you keep answering my questions before I even get to them. So this ties in nicely, because the next thing I was going to ask you is, does personal brand affect your confidence? Like, does having a brand affect your confidence, or does it help you? How does it help your confidence, or what can personal brand do for your confidence?
Having a personal brand definitely helps with the confidence, knowing that, okay, I've got a really good, for example, network who support me, who are on, this journey with me. That can really help. It can also help feeling like you have got that, I suppose, leverage within a company if you are a company, because you know that, it sounds really weird, but you know that you're the person that's got the network, you know that you're the person that brings them business, you know that you're the person who, has got really great relationships. So it does help in that sense. Almost feeling, for me, when I was in a career, it made me feel very secure because I knew I had leverage, I had a network of my own, and I was good at what I did. And now it builds my confidence because I know that I'm helping my audience with my own content, and I've grown my audience is growing, and I'm helping my audience. So even getting positive feedback that it's helping one person, even by me showing up, reassures me that what I'm doing is helpful and it's good, and that people are getting results from it.
Oh yeah, I love that. And personal brand, I think the thing that people should also understand, because you were talking about imposter syndrome as well, is that even if you define your personal brand, you can still have insecurities. Like I had insecurities separately from my brand, but I was so confident in what I was bringing to every company that I went to that I showed up in interviews. Like people always were like, you're so confident. And that's the thing that makes people think that I'm an extrovert because I'm confident. But the thing I'm confident about is what I'm capable of. I have so many other insecurities, but because in my career, I'm so focused on what I can do, it almost makes me forget about what I can't do. Because I'm not trying to sell that. I'm trying to sell me, my brand. And I think that defining your brand can make you so confident in your career, even if you have insecurities outside of your career. Even if you're not necessarily as confident in other areas, when you start to define your career and your brand, you will become so confident in your capabilities, who you are, what you bring to the table, that feel like in your career or your business, it shows up really well, even if, I don't know, you're insecure about looks or the way you speak. Like I speak to a lot of women who are insecure about their voice and how they speak and things like that. But when they start to define their brand, they're like, oh, okay, even if I am insecure about this one thing, I'm really good at these 5 things. Let's talk about these 5 things instead.
Exactly. And it's important to normalize that you've just done insecurities. We all have insecurities of some kind, or self-doubt or imposter syndrome. We all have it. It's normal. I love the quote where it's like, feel the fear and do it anyway. You're gonna be a bit scared, or it's gonna be a bit nerve-wracking, but you have to just get through it. Focus on what you're good at and keep getting better at that. And then you'll be so confident in that even if you have got those insecurities, like we all do. I still feel insecure sometimes doing live streaming, even though I do it all the time. Nobody's completely perfect. Even the most successful people in the world, the multi-billionaires, everyone's got some kind of insecurities. But if you let that hold you back, then you'll just be living for regrets in the future. And that's why I was adamant I was never going to let that happen.
Yeah. And that's such an important thing, like feel the fear and do it anyway, because just because we're on here talking on a podcast, talking about business, talking about careers, doesn't mean that as we literally, everyone has insecurities. But we keep moving. It's the difference between people that are getting the opportunities they want in their career and getting the money and accessing new things, isn't that they don't have the insecurities or the fear. It's that they're doing the thing anyway, whatever the thing is, whether that's asking for the promotion, leaving the crappy job for the good job, starting the business, you're doing it anyway, even when you're totally, absolutely insecure. Like I say all the time, I've got an old live on Instagram, my first ever live. I look like a deer in the headlights. It's horrendous. I barely am speaking. I'm stuttering, but I leave it up there as a reminder to humble myself and remember how far I'm coming from and how even with your insecurities, you can still press go, whether that's on a live, whether that's starting a business, you can still press go and just do your best in the moment. That's it. Like, it's so important.
That first time you show up on camera in front of I remember my first live and I was like, what is going on? I finished it. I shut my laptop. I was like, what just happened? What did I talk about? I actually thought, did I even make any sense? And then I couldn't even look at my phone. And then I was getting messages, oh, that was really good. And I was like, I actually can't watch it back. I refuse to watch it back because I do not know what I talked about like I was just in another world. So I was so nervous.
I still haven't watched the whole thing. I only watched the first 5 seconds because I can't watch it because and I did the same thing. As soon as I did the live, I went off of Instagram, didn't go on there for like 24 hours, was like, no, I don't want anyone to speak to me.
That wasn't me. That was my alter ego showing up.
Yeah, mine's the same as yours as well, the blur. You don't remember, like, it's like, did I actually talk about anything sensible? Like, you don't remember.
So I have no idea what I just did. Who was that? And then when people were like, oh, that was really good, I was like, was it? And then I just couldn't watch it back. I was too. Yeah. So yeah, if you do feel like that, it is very normal to feel like, what am I doing? But it definitely works, and you definitely get I think the first step, or even the first 10 things you do of like 10 videos, it's always you're going to feel nervous. And even sometimes now I'm like, oh, that video didn't look very good. But it's about being consistent, showing up. Because I just think if you can even help one person by building your brand or helping people, you've done a really great job.
And that's the important thing. Even if you can only help one person, it's like when we talk about interviews, even if you get 20 no's, you just want that one yes. It's the same. Like, even if 20 people watch your live and only one person gets something from it, that's just as important as if 20 people got something from it because you helped someone. So I do feel like that's really important. And I think personal brand and confidence go hand in hand. I think if you're ready to start defining your personal brand, your confidence will start to shift. Like we said, it won't go like your insecurities won't go anywhere, but the things you're confident about will help you move forward, and they'll help you take the lead in whatever direction you want to go in your career. I talk about money a lot. Anyone who listens to my podcast knows that. Like, everything's not about money, but I talk about it a lot because I feel like as women, we don't get as much as we should. We deserve more, and everyone should just have more money in their pocket. But I think personal brand helps that. I think when you have a strong brand, people like your bosses and seniors are like, do you know what? This person's an asset. They're really good at X, Y, Z. Because that's the thing. You don't need to be good at all the things. You just need to be good at what you're good at and focus on that. And 100%. That's how you get money.
And that was like me in my career. Certain things I just I was not enjoying. I wasn't very good at, like all the like admin and CRM stuff. I was just like, this is just not my bag at all. And I just wasn't getting fulfillment out of doing it. But then the things that I loved to do and was really good at doing, like networking, like producing great workshops, which was really valuable to CIOs, and networking events and thought leadership events. And being a consultant, actually really helping CIOs land their next dream job or helping them with that. That was my area of, like, you know, specialism and what I just loved doing. So the company saw that in me and kind of allowed that I wasn't as good as the other parts, or got support from me with the other bits. And then that way, you know, that really worked. And similar, if you are in a job right now, when there's parts you just don't really like, just focus on the parts you do like, and then people will see that. And I do think, like you were saying about confidence, when it comes to interviews, a lot of the times people hire people who are who perceived to be really confident in what they're doing. And it's down to you how you show up. Because if you're like, oh, when you're answering questions that you don't feel very confident in it, they'll believe what you're telling them. They'll believe what you're saying. It's all down to you.
100%. I've seen people get jobs just because of confidence. They had no experience, nothing, but it's perception. Exactly what you said. It's what people perceive. Your intention doesn't even matter half the time. It's what the person you're talking to perceives. If you've convinced them that you'll be good at the job and they believe you, they'll offer you the job, even if they've got 10 other people with way more experience. It's all about, in that moment, who is the most confident, who communicates the best. Like, I work with women who have got 10, 15 years experience and they're still being underpaid because they don't know how to show up and show that they're confident. And then you've got people with barely any experience, me being one of them. Like, when I changed industry, had no experience in HR or recruitment, and I'd only ever done childcare for 10 years. And I honestly believe after my first disastrous interview, my second interview where I got offered was only because I showed up with a level of confidence, because I was like, yeah, I can do this job. I already know I can. And that in itself was, like, the interview said to me, you're just really intriguing. I feel like you've just got this level of confidence that you'll definitely be good at this job. I was like, well, I believed it. She believed it. That's all I needed.
That's it. And when you've talked about, like, personal branding and confidence, you are right, because when I joined the last company I worked for after working somewhere else, I had 2 offers at 2 different places, and we just went for I went for coffee meetings with the directors. But I was just so confident in my kit. I was only 23 at the time, but I'd already built my brand for like 4 years since I was 19. And I was just like, well, this is what I want to do for the company. This is my ideas, and I'll do it. If, you know, and if you let me do it here, then I'll join you. I was just so, like, sure of myself that I was so confident in. Even though if we're honest, I've never done that before, but it's just what I wanted to do. And I had the confidence in, I visualized how I wanted to do it. So I showed up with that confidence of, this is how I see the role working. You've got to show up to interviews, visualizing how the role will work for you, be confident in, you always have to see yourself in that role so that they can see yourself in that role. Yeah. And then they'll start to believe, you know, that you are the right fit. Because if you go in just not sure, even though we're introverts, we're still confident introverts. Yeah. And that's okay. Be confident and see yourself in that role, because then they'll start to visualize you in that role, is what I would suggest with interviews, because it all is down to perception. If they like you, if you kind of show up that you can do the role, you've thought it through, then they'll start to see you, oh, actually, we can see Adele, or we can see Caisha in that role. Yeah, 100%. Oh, I love that. I love that. So my last question for you is, what could someone do today? Like, what 2 things could someone start doing to start defining their own personal brand? I would say first thing is what we've kind of talked about throughout, is first you want to do is, and maybe write it down some like notes, but get really clear and okay, what do I want to be known for? What do I want to be the best at? Because you need to get that super clear in your mind before anyone else can be convinced of that. And even if you do feel like, whoa, who do I think I am writing this down? Good, you should feel like that. Like, write down what you want to be known for, even if it happens in 6 months or a year or 6 weeks and 6 days, but start to write it down, because then you'll start to show up as that person. And then the second thing is intentionally go and build your network and network with people offline and online. So whether that's Instagram, LinkedIn, go and build your network and speak to different people, because I always say your network is your net worth. You've got to have people that are going to help you or that are going to support you, that are going to want to work with you. So go, now you know what you want to be known for. Now go and build your network online. So intentionally go and connect with people, reach out to them, because the network is where you're going to get the opportunities from, whether that's for your own business or for your career.
Oh, yeah. Network, net worth. Agreed. Totally agreed. You need to network, guys. Even if you're an introvert, it's not about the quantity, but the quality of how you network, who you're speaking to, who you're reaching out to. Because I think that's also important. Like for some introverts that are, I don't see myself networking, but actually we're two introverts talking on this podcast, letting you know networking is really important.
And online, it's easier, like networking online, because really you're behind your phone, you're behind your laptop, and it's just, and also you can network just by supporting someone else's post, because people appreciate people who are supporting them with their journey as well. So being kind to other people is quite easy to do, I think. So start with that if you are struggling with networking, but definitely
and people notice online when you support all their posts or comment. They do notice, and that is how you network, because people will sometimes just reach out to you and say, thank you for always supporting my posts. And then you get a conversation going, and then it leads to something else. So I think that's really important that you shared that. So everyone listening, I hope you've been taking notes on how your personal brand can help you in your 9 to 5 to get the promotions, get the money you're looking for, and start to hear things like, what do we need to do to keep you? And start to see opportunities. And in your business, how it can help you get more clients, really niching down, which I know business owners hear that word all the time and they're probably sick of hearing it, but it is really important to have that brand. Any last thoughts you want to leave with people?
I think the big thing is just, if you are playing small, stop playing small and go after what you want, because we're proof that you can do it. And go after your dreams and stop playing small just because you feel like that's what you should be doing. There's a lot of people out here building businesses or building their careers just because they decided they could do it and that they were going to do it. So that's my biggest advice.
Oh, that's an amazing place to stop the podcast. But before we go, can you tell people where they can find you, how they can connect? Guys, it will be in the show notes. I'll have a link to Caisha's LinkedIn, but I just want her to let you guys know who she can help, what she does, and where you guys can find her.
Best place to find me is LinkedIn. So it's Caisha Sheikh on LinkedIn, but like I said, it'll be in the show notes because I know it's quite a mouthful of a name to figure out how to write. And what I help people do is build their confidence, build their personal brand, get in place a really cool content strategy that feels comfortable for you, because again, if you're introvert, ambivert, whatever you are with your personality type, it's important that you show up as you and optimize your profile to stand out, and then start to help people with their careers and their businesses to get the opportunities and clients that they want. And I have an academy as well, which is called the Elite LinkedIn Growth Academy, which helps people specifically with their LinkedIn and personal brands. So if it is something that people or you're looking for and you're listening, then do reach out.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me, Caisha. It has been a great episode. I know it's going to help a lot of people, but again, even if it only helps one of you that's listening, that's really important to both of us. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys on another episode. I hope this episode gave you exactly what you needed and motivated you to confidently take steps towards your next career move. If you enjoyed it, screenshot and share it on your socials, tag me on Instagram, and come join my community of amazing women working on leveling up their confidence and career. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.